What's up, guys? Quick little announcement that my code ESPRESSO is 30% off right now on G Fuel products, including the new restock of the limited quantity Carnage Shaker. So check it out, link in the description below if you guys are interested. But now on to the regular scheduled content. Modern Warfare Season 4 kicked off a few days ago with update 1.22, and along with that title update and all others now, it's not even just an every so often thing. Every update we now see brings changes that aren't entirely communicated for one reason or another. Now, personally, while I haven't seen anything like a ground nerf or anything that disrupts the major meta of the game, there's still a handful of changes that I want to discuss with you. Some are really cool, some trivial, and just some overall helpful that were a result of update 1.22. So today I want to share with you the 18 secret changes that Infinity Ward didn't tell you about that at least I found. If you found anything that isn't on this list, feel free to let me know down in the comment section down below. But as well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay updated with all things Modern Warfare and Warzone on a daily basis. But anyways, let's jump into it. Let's start out with right out of the gate. Once you boot up the game, you're going to notice something different that isn't a visual change, but rather an audio change. There's actually now new menu music to Modern Warfare with Season 4, and honestly, I think it's pretty awesome. I'm a huge music guy, and I love me a nice cinematic score, so this change is definitely welcome. Not to mention, it overall just sounds pretty awesome if you ask me. Here's a little snippet. After that, let's talk about some gameplay changes and some things you can see in the world of Modern Warfare. I want to start out with some Warzone changes because I think that's where a lot of the bigger changes were made here that went relatively unnoticed, whether that be for Easter eggs or hinting at upcoming changes. There's just some stuff that are larger scale that were added in or adjusted here as of Season 4's update that weren't really communicated. The first of which we talked a little bit about in yesterday's video, that being the train tracks that were added around the map, such things including then a new tunnel system going through the hillside next to hospital, and of course then going by the locks of port. There's an underpass system there, but new train tracks were added in around the map, and this is something that, again, it could be just to open up different areas of engagement, maybe allow players to get out of a situation that otherwise they'd be unable to, like climbing over a hillside, or maybe it is something that hints towards an upcoming feature in the game, maybe like a railcar system, which would definitely be really interesting, but we just don't have any idea. And speaking about vehicles, as of the start of Season 4, I think there was a more drastic change here to the vehicles in solo play more specifically, but as it stands right now, it looks to be that all helicopters are currently removed from the solos playlist. Now, having heard comments about vehicles being entirely removed from solos, I'm not entirely sure if that was the case right at the start of the season. I know that I jumped in here earlier within the day, played a game, even ended up getting some kills crunching people with my SUV, so those vehicles on the ground at least still seem to be the same. But having jumped in and thought maybe it's just the helicopters, I actually didn't see any of the helicopters on the minimap altogether, both in the pregame and also during the games that I played. Though, funnily enough, some of the helicopter spawns will still have that image of it on sort of like the satellite imagery whenever you zoom in entirely. So as for the reasoning, it doesn't seem like there is anything specified whether or not that caused any bugs, if it was intentional, but helicopters are currently moved from solos, it looks like. Then we can talk about the fact that the Most Wanted contract is actually now back in play. That was something that was removed shortly thereafter its introduction last season. Then it was mentioned as of, I think, 2 weeks ago that it was reintroduced, though it wasn't entirely. And then now it seems to be back in the fold with everything, where there's regular bounties, but there's also Most Wanted contracts also that you can take advantage of. So assumingly just addition here on top of everything, but something that's finally back in action. Then we talked about yesterday briefly the fact that there was an AFK and execution change here with this in the pre-game lobbies, where executions definitely don't do anything. You can start the animation, it goes through it, but the player still will come out of that alive, even if they are AFK or if they're not. I know that I did one on an enemy that was actually shooting around, so he wasn't AFK, but it seems like now all AFK players have some sort of protection against them in the pre-game lobbies, whether or not that's to stop boosting or what, I'm not entirely sure. And it also seems like maybe some of the damage countdown was changed from about 6 seconds where it was beforehand to a little bit more, because I got in a gunfight where nobody was seemingly dying in a pre-game lobby also. So those are a little bit more unconfirmed as the specifics, but definitely changes made here to that one. And also in a more immediate change, I'm pretty sure the Warzone late game music was adjusted as well. But the rest of the Warzone stuff here is pretty big, though we don't have any reasoning as to why. It just is stuff that happens that may be a part of an Easter egg, and that's why it's not communicated, but stuff that's changed no less. The first one is that if you end up going to Upper Dam, you may notice that there is, on a rotation, a large object shadow underneath the ice. And it's something that you definitely can notice. People are theorizing it's a submarine, though to me that doesn't make a whole ton of sense because it's a dam with not a ton of area, and that shadow is massive by comparison. So where would this be going other than into the hillside, to which, assuming there's no underground tunnel system or anything, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But there's a massive shadow in Upper Dam, if you take a look at that was changed and adjusted, but we have no reason as to why. The RCXD shack out by prison actually was closed up, whereas it was previously accessible up until Season 4's launch, so that's something that's changed as well. There's now a nuke in Bunker 10, though again, like we mentioned, we still can't get any way to access this at the very moment. It looks like this is adjusted with ground spawn, so it's an interactable thing, which means that there is a way to get into it right now, but to my knowledge, I don't think anybody has found that. There's now a minigun in Bunker 11, whereas previously you could end up getting the mud dropper and of course interacting with some things in there. There's now a minigun also in there, which I think has the ability to shoot 300 rounds before you end up exhausting all the ammo with that. But that's some changes that were Easter egg side, but still big changes that I'm really curious to know as to why they were made. Another smaller change that was not announced here and may actually come back to something we talk about later in the video with some store adjustments and some sort of advertising in game is now in the pregame lobbies for Warzone. You'll actually notice that there are cosmetic blueprints that are usable in there instead of just what we had of previously, some weapon builds that were custom loadouts, but they actually weren't any real cosmetics. So if I were to guess, this is a subtle change that tries to subconsciously encourage a little bit more spending in the game store for maybe even free-to-play players that are just jumping on casually, but I don't exactly know, but a change made no less. But that's the Warzone changes that I noticed here. Let's jump over though to some MP and some other regular changes made within this that weren't communicated either. Firstly, let's talk about the fact that operator side, there's now new milsim operators that you can end up taking a look at. We saw beforehand there were a bunch of coalition milsim operators, but for the Allegiance, there really wasn't any to my knowledge. But now we end up seeing that we have the Urzikstan SSG 1 through 3 and the Russian FGF 1 through 3 also, which is pretty cool to see some milsims for both sides of the spectrum now and to see some more added in. And it looks like we'll be getting more and more as time does progress. So that's obviously something pretty cool if you like customization, especially for your operator, but you can take a look at as just default after some challenges. So jump in and take advantage of those if you have not done so already. There also is that new store tab in the Creator class in which it builds upon the previous introductions of the store items in the Armory tab, where at the very bottom of your Armory, it would showcase in a sort of golden yellow tint the Armory icons of weapons that you don't currently own, but the ones that were actually available in the store. Now with this, alongside the weapon mastery challenges and the gunsmith that you have on offer, we do have that option for store items if there is anything available within the store for that specific weapon. So just kind of tethering those back and forth, though additionally, whenever you end up seeing that in the Creator class, you'll also see some more pop-up ads for specific bundles, which the store tab on the Creator class and then also in the Armory, I don't really care too much for, but this feels like I'm actually just looking at a web page with a pop-up ad, so not a huge fan of that one, but that was added in also. Vehicle skins are now also present to the point where you can end up looking at new and future vehicle skins in the vehicle customization side of things, though unlike last time we saw an introduction here from vehicle skins, you can't go and bypass the time gate mechanic here with this, where like before you could preview the bundle that these skins came from and then go to the unlisted shop page and actually buy it early. That's no longer the case, but you can see that there are quite a few things still coming within season and new bundles along the way that, of course, if you're interested, may give you the heads up that there are some new cool items coming into the shop. Additionally, there is now a new clear all icon, or rather a clear all icon change, because previously we did have that feature where you could click your right thumbstick or whatever you have it bound to on PC, but now it's actually on console switched over to clicking the left thumbstick. So we saw this happen a couple of months back where the play weapon animation command was changed via different sticks. So that's a weird change that if you have a muscle memory approach to things in your UI like me, you may have noticed right off the bat, but otherwise you may not have at all. The final things that I want to talk about come down to some weapon changes here with this, both dealing though with the snipers, to which there are some strange changes that may be bugs, and that's why I put them here at the end. I feel like these could be changed back, but I also think that maybe they actually actually are conscious changes that were made. Let's start out with the weapon perk side of things, because there is now a change with fully loaded on your snipers, to which, for an example, I used the HDR with and the HDR without fully loaded to illustrate the change made. Fully loaded, by definition, is supposed to fill up your ammo reserves to the max capacity that your weapon can hold. So it'd be the same thing as if you ended up taking scavenger packs or ammunition boxes and filling all the way up until you could not get any more. Except now that's not the case, because it seems like, based off of, again, the test with the HDR and other sniper rifles, that it doesn't bring you to full. It gives you more, but it doesn't actually bring you all the way up to your full ammo reserves, which is kind of strange. Additionally, the other change that was made with snipers seems to be that of their interaction with the ammo box, to which beforehand it would give you an extra magazine, but now it looked like, at least for my tests, it was 7 rounds that were added in here with this. Now, admittedly, I did look back in some older archived footage that I had, and the only footage that I could find to try and validate this was actually a clip where I was using a sniper rifle, though, with the 7-round magazines. So it gave me 7 rounds when I used that back then, but that was because of the extended magazines to my knowledge. Though the footage you're seeing on screen is actually a result of just a bare 5-round magazine, no attachment, build on the HDR as well as the AX50. So those were some changes that were seemingly made that were, again, maybe not supposed to be made. I do think that that's a little weird that they go against what we normally see for both of those items as intended, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if those are changed or if there's any clarification made on them. But anyways, that is 17 changes here that were made as of update 1.22 and Season 4's kickoff that were not communicated here from the official patch notes. But that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. So I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Anything that you guys noticed that you could add to this list, anything that you guys were liking, disliking out of the changes made, either communicated or not communicated, whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare, updates, news, information, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. We got you covered here on the channel. So if any of that interests you, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, there's the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. I live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. Mine's been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.